at PPS. I've done some videos over the past couple of months that have primarily focused on COVID and mental health in relation to COVID and sort of things like working from home and adjusting to those challenges recently. Today, I'm actually going to get a little bit more general, and I've had some requests from a number of individuals to sort of talk about psychology in relation to other aspects of business. And so that's what I'm going to do a little bit today. The topic for today, as you can see in the title of this video, is the psychology of a good workspace. And whilst I am not an interior architect, as Catherine from Woods Bagot is, as we had on a couple of weeks ago, I'm simply today going to be coming back to some of the research in psychology around what promotes people to achieve their full potential in the workplace and in the workspace as well. So I'll be commenting on obviously the physical space that might be helpful to have around you, as well as aspects that might help to build morale within your business. So whether I'm talking to business owners or employees today, either way, I'm sure there is something that you can take out of this as suggestions for where you work and ways to make that a more comfortable spot for everybody. So, in terms of today's topic, I'm actually going to take quite a structured approach. I always like some structure with these videos, and it's a good way to sort of pinpoint the main areas that I'm going to target and summarize at the end. But I'm actually going to be using Maslow's hierarchy of needs again. Now, I mentioned Maslow's hierarchy in a previous video that I did, but I'm going to use it again today because it's been brought up in the research a few times around the psychology of a workspace. And I think it's a really good model to use in order to, I guess, get to the top of the hierarchy, which is achieving our full potential. And whether you're a business owner or you're an employee, I'm sure that this sort of aspect is something that you would want to aim towards. So these are some ways in which you might be able to go about it. So in summary, some of you may have heard of Maslow's hierarchy. There are actually some really funny images that have been put online over the past few years as a bit of a joke around the very bottom of the hierarchy. In other words, the most fundamental need being Wi-Fi. And I think particularly in the challenges that we've all had to navigate with COVID, that's probably a pretty fair thing to say at times. But essentially the hierarchy is a triangle of 5 tiers of needs that Maslow said need to be satisfied in order to get to the very top of the pyramid, which he called a point of self-actualization. And as I said before, that point is essentially reaching your full potential in a role. So if I'm to go through each of the 5, I'll start off with summarizing the 5, and then what I'm going to do is go through each of them and how you might be able to satisfy that need for yourself and for your employees, if you're a business owner, in the workplace. So the 5 needs, starting from the bottom, so the most fundamental needs are our physiological needs. So this is the real basic stuff, air, water, food, shelter, all of the very basics to sort of keep us alive and keep us going. Obviously, they're the most essential needs. One level above that is safety. And I'll come to sort of how that applies to the workplace in a little bit. Next level up, level 3, is belonging. The second from the top is esteem, so feeling self-esteem and respect from others. And finally, like I said, the very tip of the pyramid, self-actualization, so full potential, really having meaning and purpose in your life. So basically the idea is that if you're focusing on the very top of the pyramid, so achieving your full potential in work, in this example, it's pretty hard to do if the tiers beneath it haven't yet been satisfied. So for example, if you don't have a roof over your head, that's a pretty hard challenge to have to deal with if you're trying to achieve your full potential. So you might be asking now, how does this apply to the workplace? And some people have argued before, and I certainly do today, that understanding the hierarchy can help you, as I said, either as a business owner or as an employee yourself, determine whether your needs are being met in your workplace and how you can better the needs of yourself and others. So today I'll be talking about physical space, as I said, as well as sort of the general environment socially that you might want to create in your workspace. All right, so we're going to start at the very bottom with the physiological. So as I said before, it's pretty hard to do anything without a roof over your head. So that is a really good place to start. As well as lights and electricity, those basics, filtered air, bathrooms, places to eat, work equipment like chairs, all of the basics really, as well as things like electronic fittings that might be needed to do the work that you need to do. So really it's the basic structures of what you need to be able to do your job. And I think it goes without saying here again, we can't be motivated to achieve our full potential if we don't have a PowerPoint, for example, to plug our laptop into as we're trying to work. So again, start with the very basics, that very bottom layer. The next point we come to is safety. So I think there are a few elements that I want to address here, but the first one is obviously physical safety. So I'm thinking locks on the building, potentially locks to various offices as well. Depending on the size of your organization, it might also be lockers or spaces that your staff can place their precious belongings without sort of having to worry about them throughout the day, and potentially if they can't have them on their person. But I'm also thinking about physical safety in terms of injury. So coming back to WHS, coming back to ergonomics. I know Bron, our CEO, spoke with Deb Hunter from Work Better for Life. And Deb is a physio. She does fit outs of organisations and businesses in terms of the ergonomic side. So other businesses, local businesses will be able to help you with these things. Obviously, PPS can help with policies that sort of, capture the WHS requirements. And it's just things like this that are helpful to come back to ensure the safety of you and your employees. So that's the first one, physical safety. Role safety as well is a really important one. So this is where we come into sort of job descriptions, matching the tasks that are actually required. So thinking if you're a business owner about do my staff and myself have job descriptions that actually meet up with what we are doing throughout the day. If they do meet up, then it provides that element of safety. I'm doing what my role says I'm meant to be doing. If not, PPS can help there as well. So if you feel that a role has changed over time, for example, within your organization, and you think maybe we need a bit of a restructure or a chat about how this might need to be improved, we can help with that. Thirdly, and this is where the psychology really comes in, is emotional safety. So safety in the workplace where there is a culture of opening up when you need to talk about difficulties. So I think this is a really important point to raise. Again, you can't be motivated to achieve your full potential if you can't have a difficult conversation with somebody in the workplace that really needs to be had, for example. So really setting up that kind of a culture where people can raise concerns that they have. And perhaps publicising that within the organisation, as well as giving people numerous opportunities to be able to raise concerns. So not just writing it down and putting it in a policy, but really acting it out. I think that's really essential. You also can't be motivated to achieve your full potential if you're worried someone might steal your bag throughout the day, or if you're worried about getting paid what you're worth. So all of those elements physical safety, role safety, and emotional safety all come under that umbrella. Once safety is satisfied, so that second tier from the bottom, we come up to belonging. And this is creating a space that really promotes positive interactions with others. So at the moment, it's a little bit more tricky because a lot of people are still working from home. But for example, you might decide to invest in some technology so that people can continue to have those positive interactions as they need to in their own individual workspaces, as the case may be at the moment. In the physical office, it might involve comfortable meeting spots or spaces that can be transformed to be able to provide that. It includes breakout spaces if possible, whiteboards, post-it notes to share ideas, basically putting into your space the things that are going to encourage people to collaborate and feel as if they belong. Essentially, there's really good research behind this. If people feel like they belong at work, they're more likely to have a sense of purpose and motivation in their work. So there was a paper published in 2005 by Gagné and Deci who talked about that. And in terms of the social gathering side, so the breakout spaces, if your business doesn't really have the space to hold more social events to boost morale and belongingness within the workplace, consider hiring out a space that does. So, booking in some company relaxation time to kind of boost that morale with you and your fellow colleagues or staff. Again, coming back to that self-actualization, it's more likely to be achieved if people feel that they belong. Next, we come to esteem. So this is really about building a sense of pride in the workplace or the workspace. So people feel good about, it's important that people feel good about being in the space. And this is where sort of some of those design elements that Catherine mentioned could really come in. Also, I'm thinking in terms of the marketing side, one of our longest friends as well as colleagues, Ingrid from Vivid Thinking, would be a really good person to go to in terms of working out the vision of the business and perhaps colours and motifs that align with the business, give you that sense of pride in your work. Who are we? What do we do? Some other good options in terms of physical things to have in the workplace are suggestion boxes. We value what our staff have to say, as well as, and I always come to this example, plants. So there's been a huge amount of research basically talking about how having a bit of greenery in the office can be associated with reduced stress, increased workplace satisfaction, and concentration and productivity. So there was a paper in 2011 that looked at that, Neuenhuis et al. So there are a lot of things you can do with the space to build esteem in yourself and your employees. Another thing that I would suggest on the morale side is thinking about ways to share achievements of your staff or your co-workers. So, can you send around an email that has talked about something that somebody has achieved? Can you come up with an idea for Staff Member of the Month? Really sort of building that sense of company pride or business pride. So once this level and everything below it is met, you and your staff are much more likely to get to point 5 or tier 5, which is self-actualization or achieving your full potential in your role. So on this level, we're really talking about sort of common values, no prejudice in the workplace, yet allowing people to have autonomy in their roles. So the way this might look, practically speaking, is giving sort of quite clear feedback to employees as well as support for their autonomy. So you want to be doing things like including opportunities to share the vision of the business and share sort of what the business is all about, whilst welcoming each individual's unique value proposition and contribution. So these kinds of elements are really where we get to a point that staff members are feeling empowered to do their work. They've got the physical space that they need to be in, they're feeling safe, they feel that they belong, they've sort of got a sense of pride in the workplace, and finally, they've got that sense of autonomy, that sense of my contribution is valued, it's unique, and that's me as an individual, but I'm also part of this collective team. It gives you and them essentially the opportunity to show what you or they can do. So that's the 5 points today, everybody. I hope that has been helpful to you. But if you have any questions at all, please feel free to post in the comments section below, or private message us on Facebook. That is okay as well. I'm happy to get back to people that way. But before we finish, I'm just going to do a summary of what I've spoken about today. So really, we've been working with Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which talks about basically needs that need to be satisfied in order from the bottom to the top in order to reach our full potential. And today I've spoken about that in relation to the workplace. So these needs in order are your physiological needs, all of the basics of having a roof over your head, lights, electricity, all of those things. Secondly, safety. So 3 points to this safety element. Firstly, physically feeling safe, so making sure that there are locks in appropriate places. Injury likelihood is low, so the WHS ergonomic side. Secondly, role safety, so making sure your job descriptions are matching up with the tasks that you're doing. And finally, emotional safety, so the culture of opening up to have discussions that need to be had. Third tier up is belonging. So again, creating a space that promotes positive interactions with others as much as possible in the workplace. But if you don't have the space for more of the social side of things, you can hire a different space to boost that morale and keep all of the staff sort of feeling that sense of belonging. Fourth is esteem, so really building the sense of pride in the workplace so that your staff and you feel good about being in the space. So I've gotten quite technical in terms of talking about colours that align with the business vision. As I've said, go to Vivid Thinking and Ingrid, they're amazing. But also things like plants, suggestion boxes, things to sort of really boost that pride in the place that you work. And finally, number 5, all the way at the top of the pyramid is self-actualization. So achieving our full potential in our role. So at this point, we're talking about reducing prejudice. Again, PPS can help with the policies and procedures side of that in terms of prejudice and discrimination in the workplace. But we're also talking about autonomy, so supporting the needs of the business as a whole, but also the individuals that make it up, and such that they feel that they all have something unique to contribute and they feel valued doing so. So that is our talk for today. I will look forward to seeing you all in a few weeks' time. Essentially, we've spaced out the psychology talks a little bit, just because the need hasn't been as high now that sort of COVID in New South Wales anyway is coming down a little bit. But we will absolutely ramp it up again if the need arises, and please feel free to give us any feedback on any thoughts that you have there as well. So thank you, everybody. Look after yourselves, stay safe, and I will see you in a few weeks. Take care. Bye.